that he owes the public proof of that tonight. And so if these claims are true and these revelations are correct, then I think it would be the honorable thing to step aside. Yes, absolutely.
And we will have more from today's COVID-19 update in just a few minutes. The results from yesterday's municipal election are still fresh, but the mayoral transition from Naheed Nenshi to Jyoti Gondek is already underway. The two politicians met briefly this morning at City Hall. The CBC's Scott Dibble reports.
Cameras click as Naheed Nenshi welcomed Jyoti Gondek to the mayor's office. In front of the cameras, the two politicians kept it light.
So what's on your mind, Councillor Mayor-elect Gondek?
All of the things, none of the things. It feels a little soupy up there right now.
And it will be for a little while.
Behind closed doors, Gondek and Nenshi met for about an hour with officials, talking about a few key transition items that must be dealt with immediately. There were no comments afterward, but Gondek has to make decisions about staffing over the next few days, while Nenshi has to finish packing up. As a current member of council, Gondek is well versed on council's job, but she will quickly come up to speed on the mayor's job. The mayor-elect and the rest of the new council will be sworn into office next Monday. Scott Dibble, CBC News at Calgary City Hall.
Very few incumbents are heading back to City Council. 5 ran, 2 lost, 2 more are headed for vote recounts. Both Giancarlo Carra and Sean Chu held onto their seats 150 and 50 votes respectively. Dwayne Bratt is a political scientist at Mount Royal University. He says the results indicate a change election.
You know, you get a certain amount of fatigue and it's like, okay, enough's enough. And so the 2 incumbents that lost, they lost badly.
And there will be almost an entirely new Calgary Board of Education Board of Trustees this term, with only 1 of 2 incumbents holding on to their seats in yesterday's election. As the CBC's Lucy Edwardson tells us, trustees-elect say they're ready to work hard and work together to improve public education at the CBE.
There will be 6 new faces at the Calgary Board of Education's board table this year. Of the 2 candidates seeking re-election, only Wards 5 and 10 trustee Marilyn Dennis hung on to her seat. The previous chair of the board says she's looking forward to getting to work on some important issues with her new colleagues.
It is about collaboration. It is about, having honest, frank conversations, collaborating together, and ultimately making, decisions that are in the best interest of the students that we serve.
Susan Vukadinovich, elected in Wards 8 and 9, says she's excited to see some unity on issues among trustees elect already, including the province's draft K-6 curriculum.
I'm looking forward to talking with the incoming Board of Trustees to talk about how we can strategize to, again, bring home that message that if the UCP is committed to listening to parents, parents are not on board with this draft curriculum, and you can't implement a curriculum when parents aren't on board.
Trustees will be sworn in later this month. Lucy Edwardson, CBC News, Calgary.
Alberta is reporting 531 new cases of COVID-19 today. After 8,000 tests yesterday, the positivity rate is 6.7%. 12 more deaths have been recorded. 964 Albertans are in hospitals, 218 in ICUs. 4 schools are on outbreak status. Premier Jason Kenney says COVID-19 case numbers continue to go down slightly in Alberta, and he also touched today on the Thanksgiving long weekend.
So far, we have not seen evidence of a Thanksgiving spike in cases, although we need to keep watching over the next few days as it's a little too early to see completely the full impact.
Kenny says despite the better numbers, there is still a long way to go. Provincially, ICU capacity with additional surge beds is at 75%. Without the additional spaces, capacity would be at 163%. Calgary-based Husky Energy is facing 3 charges in connection with Newfoundland and Labrador's worst offshore oil spill. In late 2018, about 250,000 liters of oil spilled into the Atlantic Ocean. The spill was blamed on the failure of a flow line connector as crews were preparing to restart production. The charges include failing to ensure that activity likely to cause pollution was ceased without delay and resuming work before it was safe to do so.
Pfizer says it would be given in 2 doses, 21 days apart. And while Canada's Chief Public Health Officer, Dr. Theresa Tam, says authorities are exploring ways to tap into existing supply, at this point it appears Ottawa may have to order new vaccines.
We are already in communication with Pfizer about the supply of pediatric doses, and we're trying to get all of those things lined up.
The federal government signed a deal in April to get more shots from Pfizer, including the pediatric one, but those aren't expected until sometime in the new year. Even so, many provinces say they are ready for rollout. In BC, parents can already register their children to get the shot. In Ontario, Health Minister Christine Elliott says the province is finalizing plans, which may include using schools.
Not necessarily during the school hours, but perhaps on weekends or in evenings, because many parents with small children would prefer to be with their child when they receive the vaccination.
Dr. Anna Banerjee says if parental apprehension and logistical hurdles can be overcome, it would usher in a new phase of Canada's fight against COVID.
Where the majority of Canadians will be vaccinated, including that younger population. So that means that possibly there could be, slowly an end to this.
Something unthinkable only months ago. Jamie Strachan, CBC News, Toronto.
Next month, anyone on Parliament Hill will need to show proof of vaccination. The rule will take effect November 22nd and covers MPs, members of staff, press gallery, and visitors. Most federal employees will need to be vaccinated by the end of October, but it wasn't clear until today whether that would apply to MPs and political staff. Those who can't get a vaccination for medical reasons will need to provide proof of a negative test. Saskatchewan is moving 2 more intensive care patients to Ontario today, and more are likely to be sent on Thursday and Friday. Premier Scott Moe has been under fire for not responding quickly enough to the latest wave of COVID. Today, Moe changed his tone slightly, apologizing for the impact the pandemic is having on the healthcare system.
I am sorry that we have experienced those slowdowns here in the province, and the government is and continues to do everything that we can to ensure that those services are available to Saskatchewan people as soon as we are able.
Moe also said the unvaccinated are partly responsible for the backup at the hospitals. Health experts say Canada needs to do more to protect young people from another health threat, vaping. At the outset, the pandemic appeared to reduce rates of e-cigarette use in minors, but that benefit seems to have been short-lived. Health reporter Christine Birak has that story.
I could count on my hands the number of people who did not vape in my school.
Sitting outside a subway station in Toronto, Lucas Aguiar blows out a white cloud of aerosols. He's been vaping for 2 years and recently tried smoking.
I did tobacco for the first time a couple months ago.
Experts say if you thought e-cigarettes or vaping might have been a teenage fad, think again. It's illegal for kids, but they are hooked.
This isn't a fidget spinner phenomenon.
David Hammond is a tobacco and vaping researcher at the University of Waterloo. He says the most recent data from international tobacco control shows the vaping rate among Canadian teens aged 16 to 19 dipped during the pandemic, but it's rebounded. Stunningly, it's now higher on this side of the border, with about 15% of teens reporting they've been vaping in the previous 30 days. In the U.S., it's down to about 12%.
And Canada still has some of the higher levels of regular use and vaping among kids, so that would be daily vaping or vaping almost every day.
The marketing and fun flavors enticed kids into inhaling chemicals mixed with nicotine, a highly addictive drug that's been shown to harm a developing brain. Still, companies announced it'll permit the sale of 1 device and 1 flavor, tobacco. Health Canada is not reviewing individual devices and still considering whether to limit flavors to tobacco, mint, and menthol.
The data shows pretty clearly that young people like menthol and mint.
Robert Schwartz is the director of the Ontario Tobacco Research Unit. He says it's a bad habit.
It might feel good in the spot, but deep down it might ruin your life in the future.
While these devices could help adult smokers, it's clear they're already harming a new generation.